Alright, here goes nothing. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This video is just going to be a brief explanation and description of the timeline that I've had the past mostly 4 years I'm going to talk about, but it will start out around the 6-year ago mark. It's going to be pretty raw. Hopefully I don't cry. I'm obviously going to edit this for time's sake and for content, because I might end up talking about stuff that later on I'll watch it while I'm editing and be like, you know, maybe I shouldn't have said that, maybe I shouldn't post this part. So if any of this editing seems kind of choppy, or not exactly choppy, but if, how do I put this? If the way the events unfold kind of don't make sense, or it feels like parts are left out, it probably is because they are. I don't know how in depth I'm gonna get into my breakup. That was very difficult for me, and still is on a daily basis. And I don't want to say anything that I shouldn't. But at the same time, it's not slander if it's true. So whatever I'm going to tell you moving forward is true from how I experienced it, and obviously there are 3 sides to every story. There's my truth, their truth, and then what actually happened. I think I have a pretty good grasp on what happened, and obviously what happened from my perspective and everything that happened to me. So we're gonna cover 2 things on this. We're gonna cover my breakup, and we're gonna cover maybe a little bit of mental health. So this video might be long, it might be short, I don't know, it all depends on how I edit it down. Also, pre-warning, I might swear. I don't know. If I do, then that's just something you gotta deal with. I kinda want this to just be me talking. Alright, so let's get started. 6 years ago, as of a couple days ago, 6 years ago, my favorite person, which was my papa, my grandfather, he died. And it was really difficult. I mean, I knew it was going to happen, and the last time I saw him was a few days to a week, maybe, before. And he was asleep in his room, and I walked up to his room, and I knew, right then, looking at him, I said, he's gone. So anyway, wow, this is already getting harder than I thought it was going to. Well, anyway, a few days later, he passed away, and it was very, very difficult for me. The amount of loss from losing someone you're really close to, and someone who's been a part of your life for forever, it hit me hard, you know? And I know death and loss affects everybody differently. And for me, those 2 things, they're just very, very difficult for me to deal with. I kind of got thrown into pretty bad grief, and it, let's say, added fuel to the fire of depression I was suffering with already, which was pretty underlying. Like, I didn't know I was depressed. I was exhibiting signs, but I just thought, you know, because I'm a more emotional person, that maybe this was just how my life is. But there was some depression there, some anxiety, some stuff I had struggled with when I was really little. And when he passed away and that loss happened and that grief, it just threw fuel on that, you know, smoldering fire, and it made my depression extremely bad. It got bad to the point of, I mean, I guess I can say this because I've told a good amount of people, and I'm not ashamed of it at all. But I was suicidal, and that Christmas, I couldn't deal with it anymore, and I tried to kill myself, and I didn't succeed, and no one knew about it. It was a while before I told anyone, but I was very close friends with someone that I met online. She helped me through a lot of just the loneliness and that feeling of loss that I had. I felt like I had no friends. And with the grief of losing my papa and some of the way my dad reacted to the whole event, I didn't feel like I could reach out to my family. So anyway, this friend online, we became really good friends, and we talked. When I say talked, I'm going to use the word talked and messaged interchangeably in the rest of this video. But we talked online, and meaning messaged each other a lot, like every day. And she helped me survive for a while, and I became attached. Long story short, she lived out of state, and I became attached, and she said that she was becoming attached as well, but she already had a boyfriend who was in college, and she said, well, let's take a break until we get our emotions figured out, because we both kind of just wanted to remain friends. So we took a couple month break, and then we got back together as friends, obviously, and it turned out later on that she was being friendly with me because her boyfriend wasn't showing her enough attention at the time, and I was, and she liked the attention. That kind of ended up happening. I got to the point where I was like, I can't be friends with her anymore, because I really felt like I loved her. And so it was really difficult for me, but I sent her a long email type message, and I told her how I felt, and I told her, I saw that you and your boyfriend have become officially dating now online. They updated their Facebook profile, and I said, I can't separate you from that, and I don't want to come in between that, and it's, as much as it hurts, I shouldn't have to talk to you, shouldn't talk to you anymore. So I did that, and it was rough, This was someone that I really cared for, and I really liked, and, I really felt like I loved them. And looking back, I did love this person, but comparatively to love I have experienced since then, if love can be put on a scale, it would, a scale of like 1 to 10, the love I had for her at the time, what I felt was like a 10, was really like a 2. And the love that I ended up having for this other person exceeded 10. And unfortunately, it's still exceeding that. So it was causing me a lot of stress. Then one day, I think it was in July, a couple days before my birthday, I went to work, and I was feeling really sick, and I told my coworker, I said, I gotta go home, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. So he started taking me home, and at the time I only lived like 5 minutes from work, and on the way home I started having a panic attack, and I had never experienced one before, so I had no clue what was going on, and I apparently, I get panic attacks very, very severely when they happen. It's very intense. I started sweating, feeling nauseous, my arms started to shake, my hands started to shake, then I got this like tingling sensation, then my face started to feel numb, my body started to feel numb, and I started like almost convulsing, and my muscles were spasming, and I ended up like almost like, I don't even know how to describe it, but like all my muscles, and I was like really tense and shaking, and I couldn't control it. And then all of a sudden, I lost the ability to talk. It wasn't that I forgot how to talk, but I couldn't move my mouth, I couldn't move my tongue. The only thing I was able to do was move my eyes. Um, I couldn't even blink. And I was obviously able to breathe, but that was also painful. And I didn't know what it was, and I'm like, oh my god, like I'm dying. I think I'm gonna die. What is going on? And they called 911, and we got a bunch of volunteer firefighters that showed up, and an ambulance. One or two police officers showed up too. This whole time, the only thing going through my head was, this is how I guess I'm gonna die. And I just kept thinking about this one person I had an online connection with from years ago. We didn't like message each other often, but we did occasionally, once a couple months, just say, hey, what's going on? How are you? Kind of thing. And I don't know why this person was the one I was caring about, because I should have been, like, to any normal person hearing this story, I should have been thinking about the girl that I just, broke off my friendship with. But instead I was thinking in my mind about this other girl who I knew, who I was nearly not as close to as this girl. The only thought going through my head was, she's never gonna know. She's never gonna know what happened to me. We talk occasionally, and all of a sudden, someday she'll message me and I won't be there. I'll be dead. And I couldn't get that thought out of my head, and it was really weird. I'm gonna skip some things. Basically, we found out that I have panic attacks. I started getting them pretty severely. My depression was pretty bad. I was going to therapy, and I was put on medications. So anyway, let's fast forward to 2017 now. The girl over here that I was thinking of when I thought I was dying, we started talking more. It went from a couple messages a couple times a week to messaging every day, and then it turned into, I finally asked her, if she would want to do a phone call, and she said yes. And we got very close, and those phone calls turned into once a week to a couple times a week, and then every day. At that point, I didn't love her as more than just a friend, but because she was a girl and I'm straight, and she was just an amazing person, I knew that there was potential for me to end up falling in love with her. It scared me because of what I had gone through before and how much that affected me, because I thought, if I fall in love with this girl over here, if she leaves me, which she probably will, because that's how my life goes. I lose my friends, I lose the people I care about. I thought, I'm not gonna make it a second time if I lose this friendship, or if, because she's like, let's say we ended up dating, or I fell in love and then she left, I knew I wasn't gonna be able to handle anything like that again. So one night actually, I was at work, and I worked across the street from a church. And on my break, I went over to the church, and there was no one there. And I just prayed to God, and I said, God, I have this friendship going on. I really, really like my friend as my friend, but I'm afraid there's a possibility that I could fall in love with this young woman, and I don't want that to happen unless it's going to work. And I asked him to give me peace about it, and that if it wasn't going to work, that he would not allow me to cross over that point into falling into love with her, and vice versa, obviously on her side. And that if we did, that was a sign that we were meant for each other, and that um, God was saying, you won't ever have to look for anybody again. This is the one that'll be with you. And I got this overwhelming sense of peace and calm and comfort. And to be honest, it's unlike anything I had ever experienced before. So I was like, wow, I put everything into God's hands. I'm having faith that, however things progress, that it'll be for good, I guess. A couple weeks, months later, I'm not going to get into details, but I did end up crossing that point of loving her as my friend to loving her as someone I wanted to have interaction with every day for the rest of my life. And at the time, I couldn't travel because of my panic attack issues. So I couldn't get on a plane to go visit her. She lived a few states away, and I just couldn't do it, and I couldn't do it alone. And my parents refused to help me. And I asked them, could we fly her up here? And they said no. I said, could, if I pay you guys the gas money and the hotel, could one of you take me to go see her? Because I couldn't drive at the time because I did not have a license. And they said no. So I wasn't able to go actually visit her, which was really difficult for me, because when you love someone and you connect on such an intellectual and emotional level and friendship level, you want to be with them. And I wanted to, be with her, and I couldn't. So this is a part of the story that she never knew about. But my grandma, who lives in Florida half the months of the year, they were coming back in, what was it, the beginning of May, I think. And she was talking to me on the phone. It was like during April, and she said, "What would make you happy?" And she goes, "What do you want?" And I said, "I just want to go see her." And she said, "Is that what you really want?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Okay, well, when I get back from Florida, we will go down there to visit. We'll take a trip, and I'll drive you down there, and we can stay together and visit her." And I was going to tell her this, but I wanted it to be a surprise. So I never ended up telling her before we broke up. But anyway, that's moving. That's a little ahead of the game. A little ahead in the timeline from where I was just a couple minutes ago. But so yeah, I did fall in love with her. She said she fell in love with me. And she said that she had loved me for quite some time before I ever told her that I loved her. Looking back, it's weird because I don't know if it's true or not. I thought she was honest, and maybe she was at the time. Maybe she meant what she said at that time. We just kept bonding and getting closer and closer. And this is where I got to be careful with what I say, because if the people I'm going to talk about ever see this video, I don't know how that's going to go for me or her, because the last thing I want to do is make her feel bad or embarrassed. Not that she'll ever see this video anyway. But, okay. I'm going to put this as factual and just objectively as I can without being biased about it. Her father did not like me. And to be honest, I didn't really like him from the first time we ever talked on the phone. I could just tell. Sometimes you get that gut feeling about people. And I try to see the good in people. So I just kept telling myself, you just need to give it time. You need to get to know her parents better and everything. Well, it turns out my gut feeling was right. Yeah, he really didn't like me, and I never understood why, because I only ever treated his daughter with respect and love, and I never once yelled at her or got angry or flipped out at her or anything. And I showed her attention, and I did what I wanted to and what I was raised to do, and that is when you love someone, you give them attention, you care for them, you have compassion, you want to see their dreams fulfilled, you want to see the best for them. And I gave that to her, and so I don't and didn't understand why he hated me so much. This was all 4 years ago. Um, Looking back, I've been able to understand some things of why he hated me so much. And the long story short is he's a very controlling person. And he saw me as a threat to his control over his daughter, and he just couldn't handle that. So, anyway, before I was able to get down there to visit, she got home from college for the semester. She was on summer break, and as soon as she was home, her parents kept putting more and more restrictions on the amount of time we were allowed to talk on the phone every day, the amount of time when electronics were being allowed to be used in their house. She had to turn her electronics in, and if she didn't, she would get in trouble. But her other family members broke the rules, and it was fine. Like, stuff like that happened. He started telling her things like I wasn't good for her. He told her that she obviously didn't love me, and that she couldn't love me, and all this stuff. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And then one day she told me, I'm going on a camping trip over the weekend with my parents, and they told me that they want me to leave my ways of contacting you at home. And she was like, I don't know what I'm going to do not being able to talk to you because we talked every day. She said, well, I think I'm just going to sneak my phone in and just keep it and just do it anyway. And I told her, I said, we can't do that, because if we do, technically we're doing something wrong, but at the same time, technically we're doing something that's totally okay because we were both adults. But because she was still under her parents' roof and he was very controlling, obviously it wasn't okay. So I said, we can't break the rules, because if we do, that's exactly what they're looking for, and they'll tear us apart. They're trying to take us apart due to all these restrictions, and every day more and more restrictions were given, and rules, and a lot of just bullshit stuff. And so she reluctantly agreed and said she wouldn't take her phone with her. Then it was like 2 days later, and I was on the phone with her talking, and her father confronted her, and she said that she had received her grades from the semester in the mail, and that her father had just seen them and wasn't very happy and wanted to talk to her, so she had to hang up the phone. And then, like, her last message was like, she goes, no matter what happens, I love you. Maybe about an hour later or so, I get a text from her again, and it says, my grades came back, they weren't very good. My father is taking my laptop, my iPad, and my phone away from me, and he doesn't know when he's going to give them back. Just know that I love you, and I'll always love you. And that really was difficult for me, because he was regaining control, but I wasn't upset that he was regaining control and that I was losing control. It was just the fact that I knew this is the big step. This is where he's going to end our relationship, because he knows he can, and now he has a reason to, because he's going to blame it on grades. I did a lot of praying, and I trusted God. that God was going to sort it all out. That night, I texted with him and I said, can we talk tonight? And he said, sure. And we set a time, and he wouldn't reply to me. Eventually he did, and we talked on the phone. And I could tell right from the beginning where it was headed. I just told myself to remain calm, stay level-headed, don't do anything rash. Don't overreact. Don't react at all, because this is what he's looking for. It's another reason to just tear us apart. We talked, and he said a few things, and then later on in the conversation, he changed some of the details of what he said, and I knew he was lying, which he had lied to me before, and he had lied to her quite some bit. And so I kind of called him out on one of his lies in a very polite way. I just said, you said this before, but now you're saying this. I'm confused. And then he lied again to me. I said, what's going on? You said this. And then he started to laugh because he knew he was caught in a lie. And then he said he wanted to be done with the conversation and didn't want to talk to me anymore. And I still had some hope, so I pulled it around into something else so that we were able to continue talking without him just freaking out and hanging up the phone on me. So we talked a little bit more. I straight up told him, I said, I know you guys don't like me. You and your wife have been trying to tear us apart since the beginning. All these rules and restrictions are going on. And he straight up admitted that he said, it's not that we don't like you, it's that we don't know you. And I said, well, why haven't you guys tried to get to know me? And he didn't have any answers, and I knew that was because they didn't like me. It's pretty easy to tell when you catch people in their lies. Especially narcissists, because then they get offended and they just turn it on you and it's all your fault. So the conversation basically ended with, I have her stuff. She's no longer allowed to contact you for the time being. I'm going to have to figure out what the next step is, and then I'll let you know. And I said, okay, what am I supposed to say? No, give her stuff back. I couldn't. Because I didn't have the authority, nor would it do me any favors. I said, hey, is it okay if you just put her on the phone for a minute and I can just say I love her and just say goodnight? And he said no. And I said, okay, can I ask you to relay a message? And have you tell her from me that I love her? And he said, I'm sorry, I can't. And then he hung up the phone. And to be honest, I lost it after that. I just had this feeling it was over. I knew in my gut that he wasn't gonna let us talk anymore. And I knew that he had full control over the entire situation, which was exactly what he wanted, and he got it. I didn't know if she got her stuff back yet, but whenever I would go on and send her a message on Facebook Messenger, the little thing, their face pops down, which means they've read the message you sent. So that night I was like, I love you, or something. I don't remember what I said, but the face came down, so I'm thinking, oh, she has her phone back. And so I tried to reach out to her the next day or two because I knew she was reading the texts. Well, she wasn't. Her father was. And just happened to be reading through our messages whenever I happened to text, and so that's why the face would come down. Which I didn't know he was doing this, but I know this for a fact now. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. So a few days later, I don't know. I knew that he knew right from the beginning that he wasn't going to let her talk to me again. So the only reason I think he did this is because he was just trying to hurt me. But it took him like a week to get back to me and to say, he didn't even call me. like a real man would. He just texted me and said, I decided I don't want you to talk to her anymore, and you have big issues, and you need to get them fixed. You need to leave her alone. I was blocked on all her social media. All these various social media platforms that we had messaged each other through for years, I was blocked on all of them. She wouldn't answer text messages. Nothing. I tried calling her a handful of times on the phone for the next couple weeks, and I got her voicemail, which means they didn't block my number, and I didn't understand why, but she never replied, so I pretty much gave up on that. So that was in May when this all happened. May 2017. So now we go forward to September 2017. No, August 2017, and it's the 2-year anniversary of my papa passing away, and me, my father, and my mother went to the gravesite. It was the first time I had visited it since he passed away. It was rough. I don't think the dead can hear you, but when you're hurting, you do things and say things and believe in things that probably aren't real, because your mind is trying to understand your emotions, and it's trying to figure out things, and it will latch on to whatever gives it comfort. So here I was on my knees in front of my papa's gravestone, and I was alone. I was crying, and I told him how much I missed him, and that he was my favorite person, and that when he died, I lost that, and I never thought I'd have a favorite person again. And then I told him, this girl came along, and she became my favorite person. She was my best friend, and I loved her, and that I wished he could have met her, and that she could have met him. I told him, I said, some very bad things happened, and because of evil, basically, she was taken away from me. And I had my pocket Bible on, I had a picture of her in it, and I opened it up, and I kind of just put the picture on the ground, and I was like, this is her. I love her and I miss her, And then I asked if he, being in heaven, if there was any possibility whatsoever, if he could somehow ask God to kind of fix this situation. And then I got in the car, and my parents did their thing at the gravesite, and we drove home. On the way home, my parents stopped at Mighty Taco to get something to eat, and they asked if I wanted to go in, and I said no. I was too upset. I couldn't eat, and I needed someone to talk to, and I didn't have anybody. My mind went to her, and I just needed to talk to her. So I still had her number in my phone, and I called it, and I got her voicemail. And when it was time for me to leave the message, I didn't. I just hung up the phone. I was like, well, that was stupid. Why did I even do that? There's no point in leaving a message. An hour or so later, I get a text from her father saying, can we talk? I'm hoping, I know it's going to be bad, but I'm hoping, maybe this is my second chance to kind of fix things. I don't know. Maybe it's a second chance, So I said, sure. When do you want to talk? We picked a time. We ended up talking. And that's when more of his true colors came out. He told me that since we had been separated, as he put it, she had been healthier than ever. Her emotional well-being was the best it had ever been. She had gained weight, and she was healthy. And I'm thinking, this is great, because I still love her and I want what's best for her. And then he tells me, she never loved you. She told me she never loved you, and I don't even think she was a real friend to you, or you were a real friend to her. And I said, I don't understand that, because she told me that she did love me, and now she's telling you that I mean nothing to her. Here's the thing with narcissists. If you stand up to them and you do it in the right way, they don't know how to react. So they immediately get defensive or they get offensive and just treat you like shit. So that's how the conversation turned, because when I started questioning the things he was saying, and this time I was a little bit more confident in what I wanted to say, and I was like, she's already gone, so I can stand up for myself a little bit more because I've got nothing to lose. You know, it's not like you can say, I'm going to take her away again from you because you're acting like this way. But I was still doing the right thing. I was still calm and articulate with him, kind of like I am in this video. Just talking. No getting upset, no yelling. So one thing led to another, and the tone of the conversation was like a roller coaster. It was all over the place. First he tried to be nice to me, then he tried to kind of like hit me while I was down, then he tried to, lie to me. It ended up getting pretty confrontational. He admitted to reading all of our private messages, which was like on this one platform, which was like 6 months of messages. And he went through it. I don't know if he read all of it, but I know he read a ton of it. And when I said, why did you do that? He said, well, her phone was right there. I said, yeah, that doesn't, why did you do it? And he goes, well, it wasn't password protected. And I'm like, well, it should have been. So then he told me that I was, what was the word he used? I was disturbing. He said, you have no idea how messed up you are. And he said, and I remember the way he put this specifically because it hurt me, but at the same time, it was like one of those moments when someone does something and shows their true colors and you recognize it and immediately it's ingrained in your head and your memory from then on. And he said, you are not capable of loving or being loved right now because of your issues. Then he laughed at me, and then he threatened me over the phone. And then he hung up, and I never talked to him again. And I never heard anything from any of their family ever again. I obviously blocked them, her parents, on my social media because I did not want to deal with that. So I never heard from him again, and I never heard from her again, and it's been 4 years. And every day I still think about her, and I miss her, and I still love her, My hopes of her coming back are pretty low. It hurts me a lot more than I'm expressing in this video because, like I said, I'm trying to just tell this from an objective viewpoint. The first 6 months after she was taken from me, I trusted God. And I said, God said this was going to work. And he's going to bring her back. And then after 6 months, I knew it was not going to happen. So every day since then, I've tried to convince my mind and convince my heart that she's not coming back. And it's very hard to convince either of them, but once you get one, it's hard to convince the other one so they match up. And in the 4 years since this happened, I think I've only gotten my heart and mind to admit that she's not coming back and to just move on. I think I've only been able to do that 4 or 5 times, and it's only lasted a few days. The last time it lasted about a month. So yeah, it's a daily struggle for me. Some people might say, oh, what a loser. He never even met this girl in person. And how can you love someone you've never met? They might think it's funny. They might think it's weird. They might not understand it. And that's okay. I'm at the point where I don't care anymore. I'm really trying to get to the point where I don't care what people think about my situation and how I'm supposed to love. If they don't get it, then they don't get it. It's as simple as that. I know that I loved her. I know that she was my best friend. And I know that to this day, I still just want to see what's best for her, even if it's not me. Which is, it's kind of difficult because I want it to be me, but if it's not, if she can get out of that house and get away from the toxicity and the narcissism and the emotional abuse, if she can get away from that and it's not with me, but it's with someone else, as much as it'll hurt me, I'll be happy. And I guess that's how you know you truly love someone. It's when you can't be with them, when they act like you don't exist. And when it's been a long time and you know nothing about who they are as a person anymore. But no matter what, even if they've changed, even if they came out and said they hate you, you still want the best for them. And that's how you know what love is. So that's kind of the story of the whole romantic, emotional mess that happened. I know it's kind of long. I think this video is almost like 53 minutes, so I'm going to have to cut it down significantly, but it'll still probably be 20, 30 minutes long. So I'm not sure if I like who I am today, but at this point in my life, I'm accepting of who I am right now. And along life's long road, or short road, depending how you look at it, the things along that journey are going to change you. You're never going to be the same. All I know is I just try every day to be better than I was the day before. And some days I fail, but what makes you human is getting up and trying again the next day. And to continue to always keep fighting. As long as I keep fighting and staying true to myself, I don't know if I'll make it, but I know I'll go down swinging if I do. Yeah, love, true love, will always end in pain. Always. Whether it's because that person you love leaves you, or you leave them, or they die, it's always going to end in pain. And the depth of someone's love is the depth of the pain that they'll feel. And that's what I've had to deal with the last 4 years. Because every day that I miss her, I wonder, who do I miss more? Her as the girl I loved, or her as my best friend? I often don't know which is worse. The next video I'm going to get into talking about all the health issues I've had with my weight. Well, not with my weight, but that have caused the weight gain. And the health issues that I'm having and why I can't just exercise and work it all off. So even though this was rough, if you guys stuck through the whole thing, I appreciate it. I'm not saying any of these things to get people to feel sorry for me or care for me, but just so they can understand what I've been through and why it's been difficult for me and why I am at the place I am in my life right now. I don't know, maybe in a way this video will help other people who have lost people they love, just to know that it is something we all experience, and that doesn't always comfort you to hear that. It doesn't always comfort me to hear that. But it is something that the majority of us will go through, is loss and pain because of the people we love. You're not alone if you're out there and that's how you're feeling. I'm just going to encourage you to just always keep fighting. Just do your best, and sometimes your best isn't what other people would think is your best. But as long as you know you're doing the very best you can for that day, that's what matters. So, I am Aaron, and I hope to see you in the next video. Subscribe to my channel. Comment if you want to. Check out my other videos. This is probably the saddest video I've done. So, just a disclaimer, not all my videos are like this. This is the first one. Hopefully it'll be the only one for a long time. To my friends, the very few friends I've had, I love you guys. And the one or two people who have actually stayed, I just want to say I appreciate you more than you know. It means a lot. So, alright, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.